Holloway Manor loomed over the valley, a spectre of grey stone against the swirling mist. It was a place of whispers and shadows. The fog clung to its crumbling walls like ghostly fingers. The manor stood alone, shrouded in an almost perpetual blanket of fog. The fog was thick, heavy and cold. It seemed to seep into your bones, chilling you to the core. The locals spoke of Holloway Manor in hushed tones. They told tales of strange lights and eerie sounds. Some claimed to have seen figures moving within the fog. No one dared to approach the manor. It was a place of fear, best left undisturbed. In the nearby village lived a group of young men. They were known for their adventurous spirit and thirst for the unknown. The tales of Holloway Manor both frightened and intrigued them. Among them was Thomas, the boldest of the group. He was a natural leader, charismatic and daring. His closest friend William was more cautious but easily swayed by Thomas's enthusiasm. One evening, gathered around a crackling fire, the talk turned to Holloway Manor. Thomas, his eyes gleaming with excitement, proposed they explore the abandoned house. A challenge hung in the air, a dare whispered from one friend to another. Despite their fear, the allure of the unknown proved too strong to resist. They agreed to meet at the stroke of midnight. Their destination, the fog-choked path leading to Holloway Manor. As midnight approached, the young men crept through the silent village. The air grew colder as they neared the manor. Their breath formed wispy clouds in the chilling night air. Reaching the foot of the hill, they paused. The fog had grown denser, obscuring the path ahead. An almost palpable silence hung in the air, broken only by the pounding of their own hearts. Suddenly a pair of glowing eyes materialized in the mist. Then a shape began to solidify. It was a carriage drawn by two spectral horses. Their hooves made no sound as they glided towards the men, disappearing into the fog behind them. The young men watched, transfixed, as another carriage emerged from the swirling mist. This one too was drawn by phantom horses. Inside sat figures dressed in elegant attire. Their faces were pale and drawn, their eyes filled with a deep, lingering sadness. The figures in the carriages seemed to be engaged in a grand ball. Music, faint and ethereal, drifted from the spectral carriages. It was a waltz, both beautiful and melancholic. The men felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow emanating from the ghostly procession. The figures moved with a heartbreaking grace. They seemed to be trapped in a perpetual loop of celebration and despair. Section 5. A brush with the ethereal. The carriages continued to appear, one after another, disappearing into the fog behind the manor. Mesmerized and terrified, the young men remained hidden among the trees. They watched as the spectral parade continued. One of the carriages slowed as it passed. A figure, a woman in a white gown, turned her sorrowful eyes towards the men. She reached out a translucent hand, a silent invitation etched upon her face. Thomas, unable to resist the pull of the unknown, took a step forward. His companions, a mix of fear and awe on their faces, pulled him back. They vanished into the trees just as the carriage turned towards the manor. Section 6. Echoes of a bygone tragedy. Shaken but resolute, the young men decided to continue their exploration. They circled around the manor, searching for an entrance. The fog swirled around them, carrying whispers of the past. They stumbled upon an old, overgrown graveyard. The names on the weathered headstones were barely visible. Many of the graves belonged to children taken too soon. As they explored further, they discovered a hidden room in the manor. Inside, they found faded portraits and diaries chronicling the tragic history of Holloway Manor. They learned of a family struck by illness, their sorrow echoing through the ages. Section 7. Breaking the chains of sorrow. The diaries spoke of a heartbroken mother driven mad by the loss of her children. She refused to believe they were gone. She held lavish balls in their honor, praying for their return. The young men realized the ghostly carriages were not celebrating, but mourning. They were trapped by the mother's grief, forever reenacting the night of the last ball. Thomas, his heart filled with pity, devised a plan. They would hold a mock funeral, a final farewell to appease the spirits and release them from their sorrow. Section 8. Dawn's Embrace. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the fog, the young men gathered in the old graveyard. They placed wildflowers on the children's graves and spoke words of comfort and peace. The fog began to dissipate as the sun rose higher. The air felt lighter, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. A gentle breeze swept through the graveyard. The spectral carriages materialized one last time, the figures within now appearing peaceful. The woman in white smiled at the young men, a look of gratitude in her eyes. Section 9. A peaceful silence. The carriages, bathed in the warm light of dawn, slowly faded away. The music ceased. The fog lifted completely, revealing Holloway Manor, bathed in the soft glow of the rising sun. The silence was no longer eerie, but serene. The young men left the manor, forever changed by their experience. They had faced their fears and, in doing so, brought peace to restless souls. Holloway Manor still stood, a silent sentinel overlooking the valley. But the fog no longer held any terror. The ghostly carriages were gone, their sorrowful waltz silenced. The manor stood as a reminder of the past, but also of the power of compassion and understanding.